7th of June 2024. This is one of that staring into the fire. Skidmarks and the things that is happening currently around us in South Africa and globally is quite disturbing in certain aspects. But let's start with South Africa. If we look at these election results, and we look at the top 6 parties or top 10 parties on the list, you will notice that in that collection of parties, there's very little real common ground between any combination of them. And there are 2 strong globalist parties, which is the ANC and the DA. But the rest of the parties has shown very strong signs of, let's say, tribal issues. And I find it quite strange that a number of the ANC spokespeople has made a lot of noise about tribalism. And I see Neil de Beer from UIM also spoke about tribalism. Now, what I need to understand is, can they not see what is happening globally, specifically in the West, but even in the BRICS bloc environment, same thing. And you can see it now happening here in northwestern Africa. People are beginning to understand that the natural order of this world centers around tribes. That old thing of birds of a feather flock together. That is the story. But we have allowed the liberals and these woke people and the XXX cabal to destroy culture and cultural bonds rampantly. But you can see that there are a lot of people that are now beginning to turn back to their cultural roots. And I listened to a commentator today that said, Ireland is for the Irish. It is our homeland. Why must we adapt to all these immigrants? Why are they here in the first place? Why are they not in their own countries, building their own countries up? Now they're here in our country plundering. And that is what's happening all across Europe. It's happening in South Africa. We saw what happened here in South Africa over a period of 30 years. This black majority government and majority population have destroyed basically everything that was built up during the apartheid era. Railroad systems gone. Roads are falling apart. Buildings are collapsing. I see a video now of an old magistrate's offices in Utrecht. I mean, coming from the previous century. And the thing is burning down. And we have seen these old buildings being burned down right across our country. And I'm asking myself, what the fuck is going on? These black people, they are quick to tell us we were settlers and we took their land and all of that cuck. But there was fuck all here. Nothing. There was no signs of civilization, bogger all. No cities, no buildings, nothing. Fuck all, naks. And yet, in 100+ years, 200 years, white people built a lot of buildings in South Africa, built a lot of things here, and it is there. And now these blacks are destroying that. Now I have to ask myself, why the hell are they doing it? I mentioned it once. I was in Tanzania and my neighbor in the hotel was a Chinese guy, and he was connected to the mining stuff and so forth, and we were sitting the evening and having dinner and we're talking, and he said to me, the thing that he cannot understand is, why does the black people not maintain anything? He says they get their independence from their colonial masters, and with that they get a lot of infrastructure, a lot of buildings and a lot of things. And within a short span of time, they've destroyed all of that. Why is it that they are so destructive? And that's a damn good question. And now there's a lot of guys who are going to scream and shout, I'm a fucking racist. Fuck. You can't put a fact on the table, then you're a racist. We've got the same problem with this fucking gender confused people. You talk about that and you're some phobe. I don't know what the fuck you are. You're not allowed to mention this weirdness. Let's call it weirdness. You're not allowed to. Grown men painting themselves and walking naked in the streets in front of small children. To them, they want to see that as normal. That's fucking abnormal. But that's what they want to do. So I don't know what going to happen to South Africa, because if you look at the selection of parties in the top end of the election, there's a big problem there. And I've said it right in the beginning when Johnny came up with that shit-shot pact of his. I said, and I've mentioned it in my Skidmarks and the Briekmerke, and I said, the parties that are joining that shit-shot are committing suicide. That's what they are doing, because the DA is going to absorb them. And obviously it happened now. You can see it. The only party that gained seriously was the DA. All the other parties lost. The IFP gained. But the IFP's gain is built on their cultural and tribal bonds. I've said it so many times in my Skidmarks. People need to get out of that pact before the election, because what they are doing is they are telling their voters, we are going to vote for the DA. We're going to go with the DA. So a lot of those voters voted directly for the DA. That is what happened in reality. Now I see Action SA pulling out of the shit-shot pact. UIM pulling out of the shit-shot pact. As far as I'm concerned, it's too fucking late. It's like, it's like a guy and a girl, and the guy, he says he can't take this relationship anymore and he's going to break up, but the girl is pregnant. Okay? So it breaks up, but the girl sits with the baby. What the fuck? You can never get away from it. The people the parties that joined that shit-shot pact, you can never get away from that. You can now pull out and resign and do as much as you want. If this damage has been done, it's over. And then I also said in my Skidmarks, I cannot see how the ANC can cobble together a coalition that will work. Because if they go with the DA, a lot of ANC people are going to fuck off because they're going to be unhappy. If they go with the MK, a lot of people are going to fuck off. They're not happy. So they have a problem. They've got a serious problem. But if you look at how the people are now reacting, now that Cyril is trying to set up a government of national unity or something like that. Well, that's basically, as far as I'm concerned, the only option here. It's open for him. But now look at who's the people that are complaining. The EFF says they will not be part of it because the DA is in there. COSATU don't want the DA in there. Now let's talk about COSATU. They're a fucking union. What have they contributed to South Africa in the past 30 years? Apart from pushing the wages to a point where the employers can't afford them anymore. Employers can't afford employees anymore. They've been pushing for higher wages, but they never pushed for productivity. They never invested money in training their members, providing them with skills to be better workers that deserves better pay. Nah. Just fucking screaming for pay, and that weak bliksems ANC just gave in all the time. Now we're sitting in a position, labor is unaffordable. Labor has become unaffordable. What is happening in industry? Many industries are automating. So they're putting in machines to replace labor. That is not a good thing for a country where the fucking unemployment figure is 44%. But these blacks, they don't understand that. They don't understand that. You see the same thing happening in the farming community. The farmers are they're massive employers. But the minimum wage and all of that and the labor laws and so has pushed so many farmers to a place where they have to automate if they want to keep on farming. And every machine they buy, a few more jobs is gone. But this is things that the blacks don't pay attention to. But I am quite intrigued that Neil de Beer spoke about the tribal thing, and he was very vocal about that. What happened, if you look at the Patriotic Front focused on the colored community, and that's where they got their votes from, the bulk of their votes, and they took a lot of votes away from traditional parties. I mean, I think the Patriotic Front basically killed the good party, and it is actually quite disturbing that Gayton McKenzie has got the position that he has. That guy is brutal and he's rough, and he makes the right noises. We're sitting with the EFF. They are against the Government of National Unity because, why? Because the DA is in there. But let's look at the EFF. What has the EFF contributed to South Africa since they started? What? They've destroyed a lot of stuff. They've destroyed shops, they've destroyed schools, they've destroyed roads, they have destroyed so many jobs. It's unbelievable. They plunder and loot shops in the malls and so forth. So they're just destructive. Now, what the fuck do they want in government? They are destroyers. And then they want to make the claim that they cannot be in that part of the government. The DA is part of it. Okay. I'm not a DA fan. Don't forget that. But we have a problem in that the country is so unstable. To have an unstable government on top of that is going to be a disaster. If I look at this election results, that results tells me the country needs to be balkanized. It cannot be ignored any longer. It needs to be balkanized. And as I've said many times, I suspect KwaZulu Natal is going to get out of the Republic. That will be a good thing. If they go, I am sure Botswana is going to be hot on their heels. And somebody spoke to me last night that's quite informed, and he said to me there's a large portion of the Griquas that's going to go with. And that could set the ball rolling for the whole country to balkanize. Because that is the only way forward, I see. Balkanization, confederalism with strong portions of cantons involved in that. The country is in dire straits. The country is out of money. This is the reality. It is out of money. And what you are seeing now from these ANC politicians and the maneuvering they're trying, most of their moves are just there to try and protect their trough. It's not for the good of the country. I listen to Cyril and he talks about people must now unite and no racism and no that. And fuck. Why doesn't he come up and say, right, we're going to go for a government of national unity, but the following things. NHI, stop. BEE, stop. Expropriation without compensation, stop. We're going to stop all of that shit. Then he would lay a foundation for people to feel compelled to listen to him and follow the route. But no, they just want to form some form of government so that they can maintain their position and carry on fucking the country up. I read some articles today in which the people said it's impossible. The NHI is impossible. South Africa cannot afford it. And then I read an article yesterday in which they reckon, every taxpayer will have to pay 21,700 Rand per annum more to finance NHI. Where the fuck must that money come from? Us, the consumers, the taxpayers. We are battling to put food on the table. But they've got all these shit for brain plans, and all they do is when they run into a money problem, they increase the taxes and rates and what the fuck to us. We must just pay more and more and more. Why? Why must I work 12 hours a day if the government wants to take half of my money or more than half of my money? Why? To give to people that don't work. So we have a serious problem. And I'm going to stick to my guns and say balkanization is the only answer. That's the only way we're going to get out of this shit. Government of national unity is, as far as I'm concerned, that's only going to be for the optics, to create an illusion that there is a government. There is not a government. Our harbors are fucked. I mean, I think somebody sent me an article about how bad our harbors rank in the world. It is scary. So we have issues that really need smart people. And then I read more articles about how Soros, his open society shit, is sitting behind a lot of the cuck that we're seeing now with coalitions and government of national unity and all of that. And I ask myself, when are the black people going to realize that they have handed our country to the globalists? They have done it, not us. And they keep on blaming apartheid, and they keep on blaming whites and all of that. And then there's all these little blacks with their shit on Twitter and so forth. We want the land and all of that. I'm asking myself the question. After I came out of university and started working, and then I got married and we had to find a place to live. And we saved our money and saved. And then we bought our first house. It was a small house. It wasn't a big house. It was a small house. I bought the thing for, I think, 64,000 Rand in those years from the developer. And after 2 years, I moved to Natal and I sold my place, and I sold it for 96. So I made a profit. And I took that money and I bought a house in Natal where I went. And that is how everybody that has got houses and so, all the white guys, that's how we started. We always started small and then went what. So if you want land, you go and you look in the newspaper for land that is for sale, and then you go and you buy that land. But these blacks, they think, no, someone must fucking give them the land. Whoever owns that land bought that land. There's a few of the old families that has got agricultural land that has been in their families for generations, which they acquired in some way from the government or whatever of those years. But they had to acquire it in some legal way to have the deed for it. So, but they can always come out and say the whites stole their land. And they fucking stole what? But that is the problem that you have. You're sitting with these IQ 70s. Now, many people has told me that it's not 70, it's supposed to be 65. I don't give a shit for 5. Under 85 is viewed by academics as mentally retarded. So in any case, 70 or 65 or 30, no difference. But you must look at what this government is planning. I've said to you, they have now calculated every taxpayer will have to pay 21,700 Rand per year more to fund the NHI, which won't be functioning, but you'll have to pay that money. And then I read Eskom is now on NASA with NASA. The Eskom want to change their billing methods. They want a higher fixed rate and lower energy cost. And a family that used to pay, so let's say 218 Rand a month, that's the example the guy gave, will after that be paying 926 Rand a month. So they want to penalize the people, the private people that put up solar systems at their houses. The Eskom now want to penalize you because you put solar in. That is not the way you're going to grow the country. But I have said it many times. I think the people like the EFF and so they will only be happy when the unemployment figure is 100%. Then they'll be happy. This 44% is for losers. They need it higher. So they keep on destroying the economy. They keep on destroying places. Then they cry that the white capitalists don't want to invest in the country. What the fuck are they talking about? They are the ones that are telling the investors, we are going to expropriate everything. So the investor must now come and build the factory or what so that the EFF can expropriate it. Do they think all the people in the world is as dumb as they are? That is the problem. They think everybody is as dumb as they are. But that's the story. This is where I am on this Friday night. But I've got some good news that I want to share with you. The ones that follow my channel knows that I've been battling like hell with getting my channel monetized. Because I was hitting a brick wall because I had to get a pin that they send by standard mail. And since November last year, I've been trying to explain to them that we do not have a functioning postal service anymore. And on Monday, I wrote a long letter to the YouTube helper on Twitter. And they came back to me and they gave me things that I had to do. And I went through the steps and then they gave me a link that I had to click. And I landed on a page and they said, okay, this is how you can identify yourself. So I had to upload identity documents, and I uploaded my Eskom account, because my Eskom account has got my address on it. And I was surprised. I did that last night at around about 1:30. And I finished the uploading of the document. I made a screenshot of the results page, and when I looked in my mail, the mail was there. ID has been confirmed, address has been confirmed, channel is now monetized. As easy as that. But fuck it. Why did it take so long to get to that point? But at least that is now off my table. That was a good thing. I'm happy. I feel better about it now. And then there is people that are asking about that complaint that was lodged against me at the Human Rights Council by some alphabet gang. The situation currently is this: they've laid the complaint. I have to wait now and see what is going to be the next step. So at this point in time, I don't know what's going to be next step. I just said that if I have to go, I want the proceedings to be live streamed to YouTube, so that the people can see what's happening there. And but now I see a lot of movements overseas. There's Georgia is now busy bringing out laws that's going to block this LGBTQ madness. Hungary is out of it. And I see a lot of commentators that are talking about either municipalities or regions or states or what, that are now standing up and saying, keep that shit away from our children. Here in South Africa, we've got the cuck, it's all in the Bella Bill, and the Bella Bill is there and so forth. But we have to take into consideration that what that LGBTQ movement is doing is corrupting the minds of children. If they come with their shit to me, or to an adult person, you can listen to what they're saying and you can either agree with them or tell them to fuck off. But a 7-year-old child can do nothing. I saw a video that was on Twitter where a guy painted, walked naked into the street, and there were small children, and he started prancing around them, and someone stepped off the sidewalk and cleaned his clock for him properly. And I thought to myself, you see, that is the thing. The movements create the illusion that these people, they are these beings, I'm going to call them beings, these beings are above the law and all of that. And then they start acting with no regard for anything until they find them into a position where there's some right-minded people that look at the situation up and down and say this thing can only be resolved by violence, shoop, and they apply violence. So they are placing themselves in the front line to get bliksem properly. Look at what happened to the BLM movement. That thing has fallen apart completely. Now you can see how corrupt it was and so forth. And I've got a feeling that the liberalism and wokeness is now reaching their sell-by date. People can no longer tolerate this madness. And then I've got some more good news. I'll do a skid mark on it just for the people that are interested and the people that supported me and made donations for my dog. I have the dog here, and it arrived on Friday night, last Friday night. So the dog, so he's now settled in. It's a beautiful dog. I'll do a skid mark on him, and I want to say thank you to the people that contributed and helped with the finances, and the breeder that was willing to make this dog available, although he initially planned to keep it out as breeding stock. It's a fantastic dog, fabulous personality, beautiful personality, but I'll do a skid mark on it and tell you more about that. So this was just me looking at the things that I see and wonder. And there's something important that I need to mention that happened yesterday. Putin is a man that does not get emotional and so forth easily. But yesterday he said something that the West should seriously take note of. After some Western countries has now given Ukraine permission to use the weapons that they are supplying to Ukraine to shoot into targets in Russia. Now, I don't know how the West think and NATO think the Russians will respond to something like that. And then Putin came out straight and he said, okay, so you think it's a good plan for Ukraine to use your weapons to attack our country. Now, Russia is now going to consider it seriously to supply long-range weapons to the enemies of NATO and the US. Now let that sink in. And as some commentator made a comment and said, the Houthis are rubbing their hands for that. So, I think the West is playing with fire and they're going to get burned seriously. But they are showing all the signs of people that are panicking. And then there's this other issue of, I think the 9th of June, that's in 2 days' time. The agreement that Saudi Arabia had with America on the petrodollar, that would means that Saudi was selling all their oil only for dollars. Saudi said that they're not going to renew that agreement. Now that will mean the end of the petrodollar. How that's going to hit the American economy, I don't know. But I can imagine that it's going to be a more of a blow. So we have that. And then there was that situation where when Scott Ritter He was on his way to Spieth, and as he boarded the plane, he was ready to go. The officials came and they told him he must hand over his passport. The State Department has withdrawn his passport and he must get off the plane. That was more of a move from America, the land of the free. So you see stupid moves like this happening all over. The West is falling apart. And there are some mad people, it's a small crowd of mad people sitting in the shithouse in Washington that is driving this fiasco. And they will drive us into a nuclear war, because those people are without conscience. And I sometimes have to come to the conclusion they are actually stupid, not the brightest people in the pack that is sitting there. But that is what we have. Think about these things, give me your comments, and be alert. Make sure that you have provisions, because it is my opinion that this battle around coalition or a government of national unity was shit. The ANC trying to resolve this situation where it lost the majority, that setup could very easily lead to violence. So be prepared. Listen to a guy like Wynand. He gives you good advice. Listen to him. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.